Welcome to Permission to Be Human, the podcast. I'm your host, Mel Findlater, mother, coach, and curator of Permission to Be Human, the company and community. If you're a mom, know a mom, or want to be a mom, and you crave getting out in the world to make a difference, then you're in the right place. This is a space for moms like you to connect with yourself, your purpose, and your big, audacious dreams. Because when you feel your best, you can better you, your family, and the wider world. Let's do this. Today I get to chat with another local, which you know I love. We have Kayla Murray with us today. And Kayla, it's such a lovely conversation about how she got to where she is in her current big dream and what the next one could possibly be. Here's what Kayla says in her bio. Building a strong community is really important to me. I want everyone, especially women, to have a place where they are accepted, can grow, and can have fun. Outdoor adventuring is also really important. My big audacious dream is to mix my love of outdoor adventuring and building community to host women's adventure retreats. Well, how amazing does that sound, right? Stick around, listen to Kayla's really authentic and raw story about where she's at. And if you happen to be in the Cowichan Valley on Vancouver Island at any point in time, do go and check out her 2 businesses that she runs with family and friends. She has a climbing center as well as a board game cafe. So do check both of them out. The board game cafe is the Fort in downtown Duncan, and the Hangout is the climbing center. So stick around, hear all about that story and how that came about. Hi, Kayla.
Hey, Mel.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Excellent. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast and that you've managed to step away from the chaotic mother life and business life to join me on the podcast today. You are a local gal to me, so I always get really excited when I get to interview people that are nearby.
Yeah.
It's always weird to do it on a screen because we could just like have coffee right now, but it tends to work best, and it's I'm just excited to have you here. So welcome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So start us off by telling us a little bit about who is Kayla.
Yeah. So I'm a mother of 3 boys. I live, like you said, in the Cowichan Valley. I live in Duncan. I moved here 5 years ago to start a climbing gym with some good friends and my husband, and have been helping that grow over the last 5 years. And 2 years ago we also bought a board game cafe from somebody else who had started it, and thought that goes along the same lines of building community that the climbing gym and the climbing gym does, and just like who I am as somebody who wants to build community. So I just try to find places to do that.
That's amazing. I love that you're like, I'm just gonna move to somewhere completely different, start this. And I think it was with some friends, was that right?
Yeah.
Recall,
Yeah, we were debating for a while I knew we wanted to build a climbing gym. And we were debating for a while. We were living in Alberta, so that was an option to do it in the same town we were in, or my family's in Ontario, so that was another option. And then this option just kind of came up because my good friend from my teens was visiting and told him that I wanted to start a climbing gym, and he was like, "Oh, I would like that too, but my wife doesn't think that I can do it on my own, but surely she could be convinced if I do it with you guys." So we came for a visit, and sure enough, it like just felt great. It felt like it was the right fit. So I was kind of surprised that I picked it. To my husband, we had lived in Alberta for 5 years, and my husband was like, "Okay, we want to do this. We want to build this climbing gym, and you can decide where," because I brought our family to Alberta. So I was pretty convinced on Ontario because we had just had a baby who was a year, And I just like knew that family support would mean a lot. And my family would have been supportive of our business and helping out with the family, and they are, but it would have been easier if it was in Ontario. So, but it just felt right to do it here. So here we are.
Amazing. Yeah. And I have a couple of questions. So the first one is from the mother's perspective. So tell us about like how many kids do you have? How old are they?
Yeah.
What does that life kind of look like?
Yeah. I have 3 kids. My oldest is 6, and then I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. Yeah, we live actually in a 1-bedroom apartment above the climbing gym. So that has its pros and cons for sure. It probably, like, being right here allows me to be flexible with the roles I take on. So I teach a ladies climbing class, and so like my husband can be doing work, and then I could be like, okay, here's the kids, I gotta go do this, and we can kind of share the role a bit easier because we're all in the same place for the most part. Yeah. So I used to coach. I love coaching, and I used to coach a lot more, but as the mom responsibilities have increased, I've trained, or yeah, it was my intention, and I did train other people to take on those roles. So yeah, and had to let go of some things that I love doing to prioritize the kids. So, especially with the third kid. With 2 kids, I think I was able to manage a lot more. But 3 kids, I was like, oh, I tried. I like thought that I was going to be doing all these things that I was doing before, and then I was like, oh, I can't. Like I was so overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine. We added a puppy instead of a third kid, and they
Mm.
were like, "Yep, nope, third kid ain't happening."
Yeah.
Because, and I think there's some real beauty. I grew up in a family of 3 actually, 3 kids, but yeah, the challenges I can imagine as well. And I think it's really, I think I find your life fascinating and the fact that you're living right there, that you're building this community around climbing. And,
Mhm.
when I've been to your climbing gym, as you know, as of my children, and it's just so beautiful that like your oldest especially will just like pop in there. And I think even the middle one sometimes I see around like, oh, I'm just gonna climb this wall over here, sticks his harness on, like up he
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
And I think that's really beautiful. So I have a question around climbing then. Like, why climbing? Where does that come from?
Yeah. So um, I started climbing when I was a teenager, and I actually started with my good friend Tom, who, so we were doing this Christian leadership program in Kelowna, and Kelowna is a phenomenal place for climbing. And so the church that this group was run through had these other young adults in it that loved climbing. And so they brought us out outdoor climbing in Kelowna, and oh, it was really fun. And it was a really fun way to get to know these people, and it was a really fun way to get to know Kelowna and see all the beauty of Kelowna. And I am a person who I'm not really scared of heights or like going all in on things. But I tend to not be that actually good at them. So I felt like I was good at it in that moment, because I was mostly because I was brave more than because I was strong. And there was a lot of like more accessible climbing that you didn't have to come in with a lot of strength necessarily to do these big beautiful climbs in Kelowna. And so we ended up doing, it was, yeah, this program, we were 3 months in Kelowna, and so about every weekend we would go out climbing. And then I moved to Nova Scotia, where climbing is the area I was living in. There wasn't really much climbing, and I didn't have a vehicle, and so it wasn't a part of my life. And then I met my husband Dave, or I met Dave, who is now my husband, and he also loves climbing, but he came from a different angle. He's he's not really a super outdoorsy guy, but he really likes a good challenge. And he was a guy who was going to the gym all the time, and he was working at a gym. And then they asked him if he wanted to work at the climbing gym that was down the hall in the college that he was working in. And then he said yes. And then he fell in love with indoor climbing, indoor bouldering specifically, where you're not attached to a rope, you're just working on these challenges. Yeah, they tell you which holds you can use for the challenge, and you're kind of trying to work your body through the challenge. And then, so he was doing that before he met me, and then he moved to Nova Scotia. We didn't know each other, and then so we both ended up in Nova Scotia. We both love climbing, but in different angles. Like, I love being outside, and I love being with friends, and I love doing, like, having that adrenaline rush that climbing brought. And my husband loved a challenge, and kind of, he was fine just doing it by himself all day. Like, he didn't really need to be with people doing it. But so we met, and we really liked each other, and he was like, oh, and he when we met, he had taken on, or he had told somebody that he was interested in taking on a climbing management, like a management job at the college that he had used to work at, because he wasn't loving Halifax, and Halifax, Nova Scotia, and he was just feeling like, okay, like, I think that I should move back to Alberta and do this. And so this was like on our second date that he told me this, and anyway, we ended up going. He knew that it was kind of drastic to ask me to move to another province, but I was also kind of ready for a change. I was in Halifax, where I went to school, and I had been working for a couple of years. And so, and a lot of my friends after school had moved, and the job that I was working in was like 2 years it was, yeah, I was living with at-risk youth as like a house manager, and 2 years was enough. Like, I needed a change. Like, I could see it was a really cool organization, but it wasn't like a forever thing, because I could see the people out there forever, and I think it wears on you. And so essentially, I wanted, yeah, Dave, my husband, asked what things I would have done after, and I had like 3 ideas of what I would do after living in Halifax. And one of them was living in Thailand for a year, where there's also really good outdoor climbing, and that was the only option that could include him, actually, because the other two were like, yeah, to work at like a youth center, or to work with people with disabilities. And so it wasn't like, unless he signed up to do that too. And this had the most freedom for him to, anyway. So he asked me what I wanted to do. Traveling was one of them in Thailand. And so he was like, hey, let's go traveling to Thailand, and then we'll move to Alberta. So that was, anyway, I agreed, okay, let's do this. So we went to Thailand. We had been dating for like just a couple months, moved to Thailand, where I had some friends. The leadership program that I did with my friend, where we were climbing in Kelowna, also included going to Thailand. And yeah, so anyway, it was 5 years had passed since then. And so I was going back to see some really good friends, and Dave was coming with me. And then we were going to go climb. We did go climbing in this area too. And then we moved to Alberta, where he had a management job, managing a climbing gym. So, yeah, that was a long answer. And I don't know
Yeah,
if it
but
all made
I
sense,
mean,
but
that's such a brilliant story, because you're starting from, what I hear is you started from this place of like, I love that you're like, yeah, I'm a pretty brave person. I'll just go and give it a go and try these things. And it sounds like climbing is a place where you're able to like stretch those skills and really enjoy that
Mhm.
space of challenge and
Yeah.
bravery and courage. And, and the other thing that I hear within that is it's tied into your relationship with Dave, but also tied into your relationship with other people and
Mhm.
friends. And, I think it's really interesting when you described the difference between how you two approached, I don't know if it's the same now, but approached climbing. And yours seemed to be very community focused, and his was and outdoor focused, and his was much more like an individual challenge. Well, you still have described that as well. You've got this like group around you
Yeah.
in the outdoor space. So I think all of that is really fascinating, and I'd love to hear more about that other people aspect. Like, why community, and what is the vision or the craving there for you?
Mm. I grew up in a family, and I grew up in a house where it was a bit like people were coming in and out all the time. And I loved that. And then when I went out and was living in different areas than the town I grew up in, I realized that that wasn't the norm. Like, not the norm in Canada. It didn't seem that you just like have people come from morning coffee and just pop in without notice. And then so when I was going to university, I just like everybody needed an exact time, and it was kind of like I just felt like I had classes at certain times. I didn't need my friends to be like scheduled into my life. Like, it seemed
Mhm.
like what the culture kind of was the cultural norm. And so I think when I thought about what I wanted for my life to have a space where people could just come and be and didn't have to like schedule themselves into it. And so I had this vision, and I shared it with my husband Dave, and he was like, the climbing gym could be that. And my husband did not grow up in a family like that. My husband grew up in a family of relative introverts. So people did not just come over all the time. But my husband has grown a lot, and I think he loves having a space downstairs where people are just coming from all walks of life, and yeah, existing together, getting to know each other, um, making friends. So
Mm.
yeah, I would still love that to be my house, and but this is good too.
Yeah, I really love that phrase that you said of just of existing together.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of power to those two words. And it's almost I don't know if this is the correct word, antithesis of the we have to schedule everything kind of
Hmm.
vibe, you know?
Yeah.
That more we can just exist together. And climbing is interesting. Not that I have a lot of experience in it, but in what I observe, I can imagine that it would be this space where you can choose to go and like interact with the people around you a lot while you're doing it, or you
Hmm.
can choose to exist together alongside of each other,
Yeah.
and then top and tail and whatever's in between. And
Yeah.
um, I can imagine a lot of beauty in that
Yeah. And
choice.
that is what, so bouldering, a lot of bouldering gyms are like, are like a lot of overhang, and you have to be quite strong to even enter the gym. And so when we talked about opening a boulder gym, I needed it to be a place where people could just they didn't need to like have any experience climbing. Like, you do need to have some fitness to be able to come in and do it for sure. But yeah, bouldering. So I had started rope climbing, and I love climbing high, which you can't do bouldering because you're not attached to a rope. But the cool thing about bouldering is you could, like, rope climbing, especially when you have a rope climbing gym, you pretty much have to go in with a friend, and then you just stick with that friend the whole night. And so that has its benefits too, but you're probably not going to really make any friends or be able to, like, if you're new to the town, you can't just really go by yourself.
Hmm.
Probably anyway, unless you're like a really courageous person who can just ask to join other people, or if the gym has like a program set up for that. But bouldering, you can come by yourself, and it's like pretty natural if you're there with a friends and there's like another group of friends to like work on a climbing problem together, or like chit chat, or like sit and chill in the same space just as you're resting to go back on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And, something that comes up, I've been reflecting on it a lot lately with another program that I'm building around courage, but and community, it it's really it's really difficult for all the reasons and more that we've talked about to like, how do you meet people when you're an adult? How do you make friends when you're an adult if you don't go to school? Nowadays, so many of us don't just, we're not in an office every day meeting
Yeah.
people. You know, most of us won't go and like chat someone up at the pub or wherever you are, right? So
Yeah.
you meet them perhaps through your children if you're dropping them off at school or in their programs, but then, it's quite limited in there. So I think there's a real beauty to what it sounds like you're trying to build there in both of your spaces, I imagine, where
Yeah.
you can bring people together to start to build that relationship around a common challenge or a common interest or just providing the space for whatever happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some people come in and they put their headphones in and it's clear they're just like,
Hmm.
they just need a moment in the day to just chill,
Yeah.
or like work hard and sweat hard,
Yeah.
which is great that we could have that space for that too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's not enough spaces as adults to, yeah, like you were saying, meet people.
Yeah. So for the locals listening, we will go into like how they can get in touch and stuff at the end, but I'm just curious. I know you have some programs where that it makes it a little easier. So you can go and drop in anytime, but I think
Mm.
you, like you said, you've got a women's program that you run. Is that right?
Yeah, we actually, for the first time, have three ladies training programs. The beginner ladies training program. So first I just started having one, but then we've split up as the years have gone by. So we have a beginner ladies training, which I think is great. I think some people just need to know there's going to be other people there at that time, and they're going to have the support and guidance on what to do, and how to know how to like act in that space
Hmm.
if you're new. And then we've added an intermediate ladies training, and then I teach the advanced ladies training. Yeah, and they're
Really?
all, yeah,
And is
neat.
there, I think there's a drop, like an evening with yoga or something as well, isn't there?
Yeah, and then a monthly, I did a monthly group that I wanted to be really welcoming to women. And so it was yoga, because I thought, okay, that's not very intimidating coming to yoga. But my yoga instructor just told me she can't do it. But then we just had a silks night, like silks and acrobatics night, for the first time. So I'm playing around with what I'm gonna do in the fall. But yeah,
Mm.
essentially one night a month. So we're closed on Tuesdays because we set every other Tuesday to rearrange the holds on the wall. And so yeah, I did that. And I want to do like a community barbecue on the fourth Tuesday too. But there's all these things that I want to do to build community, and only so much time in the day and
Yeah.
energy. So yeah.
And yeah, and you're in a season of your life, as you say, you have three young children. I find it absolutely incredible that you are doing what you're doing.
Thank- Thanks.
And while I can
Thanks.
hear your frustration that you want to be able to do these other million things as well, because I can identify with that.
Yeah.
Those will come. Those
Yeah.
will come because you're holding space for those dreams, right?
Yeah.
So on that note, what would you say, what is your big audacious dream?
Yeah. I one of my big dreams, as I as I kind of reflect on the things that I'm good at and what's important to me. So creating space for community is really important, and the outdoors are really important too. So I would love to have like a retreat, not a retreat center, but like a dedicated time of adventure outside with a group of moms or a group of women, where we do things that are generally outside of your comfort zone. So yeah, maybe go kayaking, outdoor climbing. Yeah, for a big bike ride,
Yeah.
swimming in the ocean. I want, especially as a mom, you lack time to just be by yourself and be with other adults. And so I want to create that space. I'm not sure exactly how yet, but yeah, and I'm not exactly sure how it would come out of, like, I'm sure somewhat it would come out of the climbing gym community and the local community. But even if it was, yeah, I was starting to dream. I had just gone to this beautiful park on Salt Spring Island, which is like an island off of Vancouver Island that you just take a 15-minute car ride and then a half an hour ferry ride over to. And so it's just this island that you can access actually from Vancouver Island, from the Cowichan Valley, you can access from Victoria, and you can access from Vancouver. And so I just like had this image that people could be flying from all over the place, because there's an airport in Vancouver, an airport in Victoria, that would be pretty accessible to Salt Spring. And Salt Spring is such a cool place that has outdoor climbing, like you could go kayaking in the ocean or the rivers or lakes there. Yeah, actually, I don't know if there's rivers there, but lakes are lakes are or the ocean there.
Lakes and ocean, definitely.
Yeah, there's like you can go on a big bike ride. There's beautiful hiking there. So I had just like had this vision, like that's actually pretty close by. I know the area pretty well, can get to know it more. And yeah, so I had, yeah, after listening to one of your podcasts, I was thinking about this and I think you had suggested like start with something, even if it's not the dream. And
Yeah.
so I talked to my husband and was thinking like, yeah, I just think I need to just invite friends and go. So yeah, we'll see what happens. To recap, my big audacious dream is to create a space, ideally for moms, to slow down, take take some risks within that space, be brave and supported by a group of other moms, and maybe make some lifetime friends through that. Like I had worked at camps a lot growing up, and essentially like an adult camp, uh, is what I envision.
Yeah. So I'm like literally laughing inside right now because it is so stinking close to what I'm doing, like what I am starting to do now and envision doing, that we obviously need to have more conversations than this,
Yeah.
because, well, some local moms will probably listen to this, so we'll mention it now. So I literally just 2 weeks ago put it out there on the local Facebook group to create the community that I need the most, which is a group of women who will go out and build up our courage muscles,
Mhm.
and whatever that will look like for each of us individually. And I've just like started to um, sell tickets to come and do that together, essentially. So I will send you the details of that, but we should also have like much more conversation about it, because
Yeah.
I also grew up in camps, like the leadership camp that I went to when I was a teenager, literally like changed my life, as kind of cliche as
Yeah.
that is. It led me down the path of what I did in university, which was child and youth care. But
Yeah.
I wanted to be the director of that camp. That's what I went to
Yeah.
university for, right? And well,
Yeah.
that specificness isn't there anymore. I'm like, yes, adult summer camp, like that's what we need. We need to bring
Yeah.
people together.
Oh
So
man, I didn't
like
know that.
obviously
And
we
that's
need to
so
have more
cool. And that
conversation.
is actually quite similar. I was never really a camper at a camp. but I had worked at this camp, and I also thought I want to be a director, and that changed the direction I went to. I had started going to school for rec management because I thought I would love to be a camp director.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. How stinking amazing is that? And what I just love is, the themes that are coming out of this conversation. So the courage, the community, the connection, the trying new things. And it's clear in the bits you've shared about your life that that is what you're doing in life. Like I think you've mentioned at least 4 places you've lived already. And
yeah,
I'm guessing there might even be more than that.
yeah,
And, living that life where it's like, well, I really like, I have this inner knowing that I want to do this thing, and I don't know exactly the detail of what it's going to be yet, but I know that if I give it that space, it'll come. And if I
yeah,
just start. And that's what we say all the time on this podcast, right? So I'm
yeah,
really excited that you're out there, just doing that little step by little step by little step,
yeah,
uh, and creating these really awesome things.
yeah. It's kind of funny that I was kind of nervous mentioning this dream to my husband because we actually just like an opportunity to expand our current climbing gym has just come up, and if all goes well, it'll all unfold and be a great space that's
Yeah.
larger than it would more than double our current space.
Wow.
And and it's so exciting and so cool. So I was kind of like, we're already kind of in the middle of
Yeah.
growing and expanding and putting all our energy into that. So it's kind of I kind of felt like, oh my goodness, can I have another dream? Like this is already a pretty massive dream and we're already going for it.
Yeah. Yeah. What an
Yeah.
interesting question, right? Like, how many dreams and how big can our dreams be that like, how much can we hold?
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer either. Probably for each of us, it's
Yeah.
individual.
Yeah.
And I'd say there's a question in there of like, what energy does it give you to hold those dreams? Is it one that moves you on and that hypes you up, or is it one that is making you, the opposite, perhaps,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question.
or
Yeah.
somewhere in between, right?
Yeah.
And at different times in our life, we might get different energies from those dreams, right? Depending on the stories we're telling ourselves, depending on what season in life we're in, depending on
Yeah.
so many things. But there was an episode back a little while ago that was permission to change your mind. And I'm not saying you're changing your mind from the climbing to this, but it's more permission to like hold all of those different directions
Yeah.
and let the world kind of figure out where they're going to together or
Yeah.
expand into each other. Like my mind's like, oh, you've got this bigger space. How can you use that space to help build that dream? Like while you were talking, um, and I was going, oh, yeah, this is totally what I'm doing right now. We need to have a conversation. I'm looking for someone to like help me out. I was going, well, I need someone like one of our things could be climbing. So we need to come into the climbing gym and get you to like
Yeah.
test our courage there and build up those muscles, right? So you just never know where these little bits of our dreams start to unfold in ways that we never could have planned, right?
Yeah.
We couldn't have planned it.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
thinking about
Definitely.
doing this community for well, probably 20 years, but definitely like locally for a year. And I was like trying to get it all perfect in my mind. And then actually is one day I just was really inspired by someone I had a conversation with that morning who was doing something that really was stretching herself. And I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna write a post and like see if anybody says yes.
Yeah.
Um, I had like 50 responses to that post. Like, you
Yeah.
just don't know. And that was really vague as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I had gone on and said, here's a like professional website to look at with these exact things, then I think it would have
Yeah.
been less approachable. and
Yeah.
actually had a worse response. So, anyways, we just never know what happens when we
Yeah.
give ourselves the space to hold these thoughts and these dreams and these visions and let them adapt. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, we're gonna start winding up this conversation, though I have many more to have with you. But so we always finish with one tip you would give, as someone who has gone through life in the way that you've just described, who's, built this business that may well even expand and turn into whatever it does. What's your tip to the moms listening who have their own big audacious dreams or a sliver of a dream?
Yeah. I'm I'm a perfectionist, and so I could feel you when you were like, I can't do this until it's perfect. And 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 it's hard if you're gonna stop yourself before you even start every time, it's gonna be hard to make progress toward your dream. And so I think my advice would be, even if it's not great, good is better than great. And I always think, even if it's not good, like, I'm trying to be, yeah, trying to do outdoor exercise every day. And sometimes I'm literally just like walking up and down my stairs outside. And that's not even good. Like, that's like, even if it's bad, that's better than nothing. Like, making slow progress in the direction you want to is is better than no progress. Yeah, that's my
Yeah, I love it. It's just little
two
steps, right?
cents.
Literally in your
Yeah.
case. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us the name of the climbing gym and the the games place and where people can find you. If they're
Yeah.
local, they might want to come hang out, or if they want to get in touch, where would they go?
So the name of the gym is called the Hangout Climbing Center. It's in Duncan on Vancouver Island. And yeah, we have a website. You can reach out through that, or my email address is Kayla dot Murray at climbhangout.com. And then we also yeah, co-own the board game cafe that's called the Fort Game Cafe. And yeah, it's just like a 10-minute walk from here, also in Duncan. Um, and like I said, another space for community. It has like a whole different group of people for the most part, which we were surprised at, because we did a lot of our advertising through here, and they had people already going there. But yeah, it's like I think less barrier to entry, because you don't have to be active necessarily. But yeah, love for board games or video games is what bring people there. So yeah, another cool space in town. Mm. Yeah.
Brilliant. I love it. And as you say, gives that space for community. In fact, I even saw you have this won't be out in time for people to do it, but I know about it. And I saw that you have a kind of a woman's drop-in table kind of set up so that you can come and hang out with other
Yeah,
moms
yeah,
or
it's
women.
part of,
So
yeah, yeah, every other, actually, we're gonna do it every other Friday if all goes well. So
awesome.
every other Friday nights at the game cafe, ladies can come by themselves or with their friends, or invite which other lady friends they want to, and have a space for community. Because that was, yeah, part of my thinking of, it's hard to make friends. And it's hard to like have time where you do something you like that's outside of what your kids like, or what you do with your family, or what you have to do for your job. And so, yeah, to provide a space for that, and for myself to be able to go without kids and have like a reason, like, Kate, this is just me going by myself.
Yeah.
No kids allowed, no husband allowed. Um, uh,
Exactly. There's a time and space for some beautiful adventures we can do with our family, but there's
yeah,
also, a time and space to have
yeah,
our
for
own
sure,
our own
for
version of
sure.
it. So
For sure. Yeah. So I did it a couple times just with friends, and it's been a lovely space, and just want to outreach to other people to be able to come to.
yeah,
Uh,
love it.
Well, you may
Yeah.
well see me show up tonight because I have so many other things I want to talk to you about now. And you were playing Settlers of Catan well in the picture that I saw. So I'm
Yeah.
uh,
That's a good game. Yeah.
it's a great game. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for joining today, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Mel.
You know when you have that dream or that idea and you hold it really tight and you don't really want to share it with anyone until you have it just right, until you are absolutely assured that it is exactly what you want it to be. But you also know deep down inside that it is unlikely to get perfect. It is unlikely to get to exactly where you want it to be unless you share it with others. It's when we share it with other people that we get the energy and the momentum. It is when we get feedback. It is when we start to iterate inside of our own minds. We need to get it out of our bodies and into the world in some sort of way. And talking to someone who will cheer you on is exactly the first step. Now, if you can't think of anybody in your life that you would love to share your dream with in this raw stage where you're not going to get the words right and you're worried that they're going to come back to you and be, yeah, but, or, ooh, what if? Don't share it with those people. If you can't think of who to share it with, then I want to be that person for you. Totally complimentary. I am launching the Dream Haven, and it is a simple message back and forth concept where you tell me your dream and I cheer you on and tell you exactly how amazing I think it is. I can be that safe space for you and your dreams to grow into whatever they're going to grow. It's totally complimentary. It remains your dream, not mine. And I would absolutely love and be honored by being that person who gets to hear it first. So head on over to permissiontobehuman.ca/the-dream-haven and let's get this going, because your dream deserves to be out there in the world. It could be a project, it could be a business, it could be the change that you really want to see in the world, it could be an adventure that you really want to go on. You got this. Let's hear about it. Again, all you have to do is head on over to permissiontobehuman.ca/the-dream-haven and put your details in, and you'll get a video personalized back from me inviting you to take our next step. That is it, folks. This has been Mel Findlater on Permission to Be Human, the podcast, and I am so glad that you have joined us here today and hope that you have taken away some tidbits that will help you go away, connect with your big audacious dream, and make that massive impact in the world that you are dying to make. If you liked today's episode, please, please, please like it, share it. Think of one person that you think would also like it and send it on over to them. Let's get this out there and more moms feeling like themselves, inspired, dreaming big, and out there being them. Please do head on over to find me on Facebook with Permission to Be Human, or Instagram, or you can even pop me an email and say hello at permissiontobehumanalways@gmail.com. Say hello and let me know that you listened. What did you like about it? I would love to hear. If you didn't like it, I don't really want to know. Just kidding. You can share that if you want. I would love to know, however, who you are. Let's connect. Let's find out what you want more of. I want to hear from you, and I want to make it what would be useful to you. As always, remember that you have permission to dream big, permission to feel big, and permission to be you. You have complete and full permission to be human. For real, you do.